Imagine this scenario. The reigning world champions, the undisputed kings of world football, brought to their knees, gasping for air, staring directly into the terrifying abyss of elimination. On July 7th, 2026, inside a suffocating, tension-filled Atlanta stadium, the absolute impossible was unfolding right before our eyes. If you think you have seen the greatest comebacks in the long, storied history of the FIFA World Cup, trust me, you have seen absolutely nothing yet. What transpired between Argentina and Egypt in this monumental round of 16 clash was not just a standard football match. It was a dark psychological thriller, a breathtaking masterpiece of tactical warfare, and a stunning testament to the sheer, unyielding power of human will. But the real question is, how did the mighty Argentina find themselves trailing 2-0 with just over 20 minutes left on the clock? To fully understand this tactical catastrophe, we have to rewind slightly and look at the brutal road that led them here. Before even stepping foot on the pitch in Atlanta, both of these incredible teams had already walked through fire. Argentina was physically shattered. In their previous round of 32 clash down in Miami, they were dragged into a brutal, exhausting 120-minute war by tournament newcomers Cape Verde. They barely survived that traumatic night, a narrow 3-2 victory, saved only by a late, fortuitous own goal. Their players were completely drained, their aggressive high-line defense was brutally exposed, and their manager, Lionel Scaloni, knew perfectly well that his team was standing on very fragile ground. On the completely opposite side of the spectrum, Mohamed Salah's Egypt had just eliminated Australia in a nerve-wracking penalty shootout. They were physically tired, yes, but mentally, they were absolute giants. They smelled blood in the water. They knew exactly how to exploit the heavy, exhausted legs of the Argentine defenders, and they came into this match with a brilliant, calculated game plan. When the referee's whistle echoed through the stadium to start the match, Argentina did exactly what everyone expected them to do. They took immediate control of the ball, utilizing their classic 4-1-3-2 formation. But the Egyptian coaching staff had laid a brilliant, invisible trap. Setting up in a 4-2-3-1, they created a deep, unbreakable defensive block, suffocating the midfield space, and just waited patiently for the perfect moment to strike. And shockingly, it took only 15 minutes for that trap to snap shut. A rapid, blindingly fast counterattack down the right flank caught Argentina completely off guard. Marwan Atiyah whipped a terrifying pinpoint cross into the penalty area. Lisandro Martinez, usually so reliable and sharp, misjudged the flight of the ball for just a fraction of a second. That tiny mistake was all Yasser Ibrahim needed. The powerful Egyptian defender rose majestically into the air and unleashed a bullet header that gave goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez absolutely no chance to react. 1-0. The massive stadium fell completely, terrifyingly silent. The Pharaohs had drawn first blood. Argentina was shell-shocked, but like a deeply wounded animal, they immediately charged back with vicious intent. Just 5 minutes later, a moment of absolute chaos erupted. Enzo Fernandez slipped a genius slicing pass through the Egyptian lines to Nicolas Tagliafico. As the left back broke dangerously into the box, a clumsy, desperate tackle from Hisham Hassan brought him crashing down. The referee did not hesitate for a single second. He pointed straight to the spot. Penalty to Argentina. The tension in the hot Atlanta air was so thick you could practically cut it with a knife. Lionel Messi stepped up to the ball. The savior, the magician, the man who simply never misses when the entire world is watching. He took his familiar run-up, he struck the ball with power, but then the absolute unthinkable happened. Egypt's goalkeeper, Mustafa Choubert, launched himself to his left with blinding superhuman speed and parried the ball away. Messi looked down at the green grass in pure disbelief. With that single save, Messi had just made unwanted history, becoming the first player ever to miss 2 penalties in a single World Cup outside of shootouts. Despite generating a 1.51 expected goals in that first half, Argentina went into the locker room trailing. For the first time since the 2010 World Cup against Germany, they were losing at halftime in a knockout match. In the second half, pure desperation began to creep in. Scaloni gambled everything he had. He threw on Lautaro Martinez and Nicolas Gonzalez, completely abandoning his defensive structure for a wild all-out attack. It was a massive, high-stakes risk, and in the 67th minute, that massive risk backfired in the most spectacular way imaginable. Mohamed Salah picked up a loose ball deep in his own half and orchestrated a lightning-fast counterattack. A rapid pass to Hassan, a perfectly measured cross into the chaotic box, and there was Mustafa Zico, a devastating, brilliant first-time finish. 2-0 to Egypt. History was being written. The reigning champions were dead and buried. Or were they? The bright digital scoreboard glared down at the pitch like a harsh, unforgiving judge. Egypt 2, Argentina 0. Never, in the entire glorious history of the FIFA World Cup, had an African nation held a 2-goal lead over the defending world champions. Statistically speaking, Argentina was completely finished. If you looked at the history books, every single time Argentina had fallen behind by 2 goals in a World Cup match, they had lost. All 13 times. The thousands of passionate Argentine fans sitting in the Atlanta Stadium were reduced to a ghostly, heartbreaking silence. You could see the tears already forming in their eyes. But, as we all know, football is not a game played on spreadsheets or defined by historical statistics. It is a game played in the mind. It is a game of shifting momentum. Seeing his World Cup dreams slipping away, Lionel Scaloni made his absolute final throw of the tactical dice. In the 72nd minute, he brought on the aggressive fullback Gonzalo Montiel. Scaloni recognized a critical shift happening on the field. He saw that Egypt's players, having chased the ball relentlessly without possession for over an hour, were running completely on empty. Their pressing intensity dropped massively. Their legs grew incredibly heavy. The spaces began to open up. And then, in the 79th minute, the sleeping volcano finally erupted. Operating from the right wing, Lionel Messi, desperate to right the terrible wrong of his earlier penalty miss, curled a millimeter-perfect in-swinging cross deep into the penalty area. Christian Romero, rising powerfully above the towering, exhausted Egyptian defenders, met the ball with a ferocious, unstoppable header. The net bulged. 2-1. Suddenly, the entire body language on the pitch transformed in a matter of seconds. You could physically see the dark fear creeping into the eyes of the Egyptian players. They knew exactly what was happening. They knew the storm was coming. And it only took 4 agonizing minutes for that terrifying storm to make full landfall. In the 83rd minute, the ball found its way back to Messi, lurking just outside the penalty box. Before the exhausted, panic-stricken Egyptian defense could step up to close him down, he swung that famous magical left foot. It was an absolute rocket, a shot fueled by pure anger, redemption, and terrifying precision that crashed in off the underside of the crossbar. 2-2. The stadium literally shook to its core as the crowd erupted into absolute madness. With that single violent swing of his boot, Messi erased the dark nightmare of his penalty miss. He shattered records that were tumbling down all around him. It was his 8th goal of the tournament. He became the first player to score in 9 consecutive World Cup matches. He hit 21 total World Cup goals. But more importantly than any of those numbers, he had single-handedly dragged his broken team back from the grave. As the stadium clock dramatically ticked past the 90-minute mark, the psychological collapse of the Pharaohs was absolute and complete. They were entirely broken, picking up desperate yellow card after yellow card, just trying to survive the relentless Argentine onslaught. The referee signaled for injury time. It was the 92nd minute, the exact moment where footballing legends are forged. Substitute Lautaro Martinez ripped through the fractured, disorganized Egyptian defense on the right flank. With brilliant, ice-cold vision, he lofted a delicate floating chip toward the far post. Waiting perfectly in the shadows was Chelsea star Enzo Fernandez. With flawless, beautiful timing, he leapt into the air and hammered his header straight past the despairing final dive of Chabert. 3-2. Absolute, unadulterated pandemonium. The legendary commentator Andres Cantor screamed into his microphone, his voice cracking with emotion. The comeback was completely sealed. The greatest turnaround in modern World Cup history was a reality. When the final whistle blew, the Egyptian players collapsed to the grass in floods of tears, knowing they were just 15 minutes away from the greatest upset in football history. Argentina miraculously moves on to the quarterfinals, but they carry a massive, glaring weakness with them, a terrifying defensive flaw that both Cape Verde and Egypt completely exposed for the world to see. What exactly is this hidden tactical flaw in Scaloni's system, and how can their next opponents easily destroy them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you felt the raw emotion and tactical brilliance of this match, please hit that like button, share this video with every football fan you know, and do not forget to subscribe to Total Football Nexus for more deep dives into the beautiful game.